Hello, crafty friends, and welcome back to my channel. Well, we all love embossing folders, but isn't it even more exciting when they come with coordinating dies? Today, I'll be creating two fun Christmas cards using the Santa Faces embossing folder and cutting dies from the latest Sugar and Spice release by Simon's Stamp. One card will feature that gorgeous textured embossed background, and the other will showcase the embossed background along with the adorable die cut Santas. Here's a closer look at the Santa's Faces embossing folder and cutting die set. This set truly captures that classic holiday cheer with three jolly Santa faces, each surrounded by beautifully detailed snowflakes, perfect for creating a festive wintry background. The coordinating dies, they cut out each of those Santas individually, allowing you to layer them back into the embossing folder for that absolutely stunning textured effect on Santa's face. I'll be doing some fun ink blending on these textured backgrounds, but you could easily add color using markers, pens, or even colored pencils. This embossing folder would be absolutely perfect for trying out the blackout technique. I think it would create such a stunning effect. I'll start by embossing two white cardstock panels, each cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, which is the size of a standard A2 size card piece. Now, well, later I did go ahead and trim them to 4 by 5 1/4 inches to create that nice clean border around the edges, which is something that I always prefer on my cut fronts. Now, before running the panels through the die cutting machine, I like to lightly mist them with water, which helps loosen the fibers and prevents cracking during embossing. Since I planned on making two cards today, I went ahead and embossed two panels and, well, also die cut the three Santa faces using plain white cardstock at the same time. I absolutely love how beautiful and textured these panels are, and you can see here the die cuts fit perfectly on those embossed Santa faces. Next, I decided to emboss my little die cut pieces before adding any color. To do this, I carefully placed each of those die cuts back into the corresponding Santa faces on the embossing folder. It's actually very easy to align them, almost like putting a puzzle piece together. The shapes fit perfectly into their spots, which makes the process quick and satisfying. Once I had all the die cuts properly in place, I used a few tiny pieces of washi tape to hold them down. This step really helps keep everything secure so the pieces don't shift around when you close the flaps of the embossing folder or run it through your die cutting machine. That way, you get perfectly embossed texture on each of those adorable Santa faces. Now that all of these Santa faces are beautifully embossed, it's time to bring them to life with a bit of color. These adorable little die cut Santas already have so much texture from that embossing, so adding coloring would really help enhance all those little details. For my coloring, I'm using the Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend markers, which are some of my absolute favorites. I kept the coloring fairly simple but intentional. I used red shades for Santa's hat, a soft skin tone for his face, and added just a few little gray strokes on his hat and beard, and, well, also his eyebrows to create some gentle shadows and definition. To finish it off, I couldn't resist adding a touch of the lightest pink to give Santa that sweetest rosy blush on his cheeks. Now, one of the reasons I love using these tri-blend markers is that each one includes three different shades of the same color. That makes blending so easy and helps create that natural dimension and depth. Especially on Santa's hat, being able to use all the three red tones gave it that beautiful layered look with realistic shading that makes the image absolutely pop. Once I was happy with how the coloring turned out, I added a few finishing touches to really make the Santas come to life. I grabbed my black gel pen and carefully added color to Santa's eyes. It's such a tiny detail, but it makes a big difference. Suddenly, those little faces look so much more expressive and full of character. Now, what I really love about this embossing folder is that all of those details from the eyes, the mustache, to the fur trim on Santa's hat, we have raised texture for all of those. That makes coloring and shading so much more easier because the embossed lines naturally guide your markers or pens into the right spot. So even when you're adding just that small touch of black to the eyes, the texture helps keep everything neat and clean, giving the image a beautifully finished look without much of an effort. Next, let's add a little shine and sparkle to our Santas. Because honestly, what's a holiday card without a touch of shimmer? Well, I started by applying glossy accents to all of those white areas on Santa's face. That includes the trim of his hat as well as his beard and mustache. For the hat trim, I went in with a generous layer of the glossy accents to really make it pop and catch the light. But for the beard and mustache, I decided to go a bit softer and added just a few light strokes of the glossy accents to highlight those textured details without completely covering them. I repeated the same process with all the three Santa faces, making sure each one had that perfect balance of shine and texture. And before the glossy accents dried, I sprinkled on some beautiful white glitter powder. Now, this particular glitter is one that I picked up from my local craft store, but I'll make sure to link a few similar options in the description box below, just in case you'd like to recreate the sparkly effect for your own cards. While the glossy accents and the glitter are drying on my Santa's faces, let's turn our attention to those embossed backgrounds. Now, I decided to do some ink blending on both the panels, and of course, that meant bringing out my trusty glass mat from Glassport Studio and the large ink blending brushes by Altenew, which are perfect for covering larger areas absolutely smoothly. Now, for my colors, I went with a trio of beautiful greens. Now, these aren't new inks to my collection, but I had never actually used them together on any project before. So, I'm so glad I used them here today. The shades I've chosen are AEGEAN, TROPIC, and TIDEPOOL, all from the Simon Says Positively Saturated ink range. They complement each other so beautifully and create a rich, cool toned holiday vibe. Now, I worked on both the panels simultaneously, starting with the lighter shade Tidepool in the center and then blending outward into the deeper shades of Tropic and finally Asian towards the edges. Now, this helps create a lovely soft gradient that draws your eyes towards the center of the design. These positively saturated inks are wonderfully juicy and smooth, which makes ink blending so much more effortless. They go on rich and vibrant, but as they dry, they settle into this perfectly even velvety finish. And paired with the Altenew blending brushes, the results are just seamless. I love how easily these tools work together to give that smooth professional look. I went back and forth with my inks a few times, blending and softening the transitions until I was completely happy with the look. The key is to take your time and build up those layers gradually. It really makes the colors come together beautifully. And of course, what's a holiday card without a bit of shine and shimmer, right? Once I was satisfied with the ink blending, I moved my panels over to my splatter box and gave them a generous misting of shimmer spray. This instantly added that magical pearlescent glow across the entire background. It's subtle but absolutely gorgeous when the light hits it. To add a touch of warmth, I followed up with few spritz from the fossilized amber distress spritz spray, which gave the panels just a hint of gold shimmer. The combination of that cool green ink blending with a soft gold sheen looks so festive and elegant, and it's one of my favorite ways to add that instant holiday sparkle. Once I was happy with all that shine and sparkle, I set the panels aside to dry completely while I moved on to working on my sentiments. For one of the cards, I decided to use the word joy from the Holiday Duo die set, which is again part of this latest new release. It's such a classic and perfectly complements the cheerful Santa theme. For the sentiment, I reached out for a gorgeous gold glitter cardstock from Your Paper Insider to cut out the word joy and paired it with vellum layer for the shadow, also from Your Paper Insider. The glitter cardstock adds that festive sparkle while the vellum softens the look and creates a subtle dimension. After cutting the word from glitter cardstock, I also cut it from plain white cardstock to give the sentiment a little more bulk and sturdiness. Since these delicate dies can be a bit fragile, stacking layers ensures that it'll hold up nicely on the card. I glued the white cardstock and glitter layer together with liquid glue and then mounted them onto the vellum shadow layer. A quick tip is to be extra careful with a tiny dot on the J. It's easy to lose, so keep it safe until the very end. Once the sentiment was ready, I trimmed my ink blended panel slightly to 4 by 5 and quarter, which is just a bit smaller than my standard A2 size card bases. This gives the design a neat framed look when you adhere it onto the card. Then I carefully positioned and adhered the layered joy sentiment onto one of those panels, and it instantly became the perfect focal point for this card. I love how beautiful this panel turned out. It is so shiny and so sparkly. Well, I will be adding sub-sentiments to this panel, which you'll see later in the video. But before that, I wanted to focus on finishing panel number 2 by adhering the colored die-cut Santa faces. These little Santas are already so adorable on their own, but placing them on that embossed background really makes the texture and the details shine. To give the Santas a subtle lift, I added some dimension and used small foam circles behind each of those die-cut images. This allows them to slightly sit raised above the background, giving a fun layered effect while still aligning perfectly with the embossed Santa faces underneath. It's almost like the die cuts are popping right out of the panel. If you prefer a smoother flat card or don't want that extra bulk, you can absolutely use liquid glue instead of foam circles. The die cuts will still adhere neatly and follow the contours of the embossed texture. So you'll get a beautiful finished look either way. This step really brings the card to life. The combination of the textured embossing and the raised die cuts and the vibrant colors makes the Santas stand out as the perfect focal point for this design. Now that both our panels are ready with the focal point images and the large joy sentiment in place, it was time to work on the sub sentiments. Now, for these, I reached out for one of my older favorites from Simon's Stamp. It's the Peaceful Trees stamp and die set combo. For the first card featuring the joy die cut sentiment, I decided to add two words, sending and to you. I gold heat embossed these sentiments on black cardstock and cut them using coordinating die. For my second card with the Santa's faces, I wanted a sentiment that was a bit more festive, so I chose Happy Holidays, which I white heat embossed on black cardstock and cut it out using the coordinating die. And there you have it, two beautiful festive holiday cards, each with its own unique charm. I absolutely love how these cards turned out. The combination of embossing, die cuts, ink blending, and shimmer really brings the designs to life. And the best part is how versatile these techniques are. You can recreate them in your own favorite color palettes or try different sentiments to make each card your own. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. I will be sure to link down all the supplies that I used for today's card project, as well as the links to the new Sugar and Spice release by Simon System down in the description box below. Please note that all of these links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I'll get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe.